Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
What is up? What is up? What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are back in the building. This is the Wait a Minute show with your man Jelani JB Bodie. And let me just start off 2025 with Merry New Year. If you know what that is, then you'll know what that is. Merry New Year. I'm displaying my age, but I got to tell them trading places. If you don't know what that is, look it up. But Happy New Year, everybody. So hopefully your 2025 has been off to a good start and your 2024 ended on the right note. But we are going to get into some things that we're going to talk about. Some sports topics, you know how we always do here. But before we do all of that, I need you to like, subscribe, turn on those notifications and everything. Make sure you're following the show. Make sure you're sharing it with people out there. And last time I was here, I told you he would be back. And ladies and gentlemen, he is back. None other than the man that runs all the stuff behind the scenes. And I bring him out to the forefront every so often. Big Mo is in the building. So what is up, Mo? How are you, sir?
Happy New Year, JB.
Yeah.
Happy New Year.
Happy
And
New
you are
Year.
old, man. That trading places reference, yeah, you pulled one on them. You pulled one on them.
It's a classic movie.
God almighty.
With great actors and actresses. Jamie Lee Curtis, I'll never forget Jamie Lee Curtis in that movie. I'm not going to go any further of why I remember, but a lot of people that was in that movie that people talk about to this day. So I had to mention it. Merry New Year.
Classic.
Yes. All right. So we got some stuff that we're going to be talking about. We're going to get into a key matchup that was for all the marbles. We're going to talk about the CFP, college football playoffs, as well. We'll get into some rapid shots, and everything. And Tyreek Hill is making news as usual. But before we do all of that, like I said, a very key matchup. Let's jump into the first topic, which is my Detroit Lions taking on the Minnesota Vikings. This was for all the marbles. This was for number one overall seed. This is for home field advantage. This was for the division as well. And the Lions prevailed in a 31-9. I guess you could call it a beatdown, if you will, but they won the game, right? So I'm not surprised that they won the game. I told people before, I am happy. If you can't tell, I am happy, about it. But I want to talk about the game, in itself for that 31-9 and how it transpired, how it got there. First off is that, there was a lot of things, with the Lions. I know they're beat up on defense and people were really giving Minnesota a shot, but they kind of forget, before even this win, Detroit had won the last 4 times that they've played Minnesota. So on the road and at home. So this makes number 5 for them. So they were playing a little bit with house money, but I want to get into the Minnesota side because, and then I'll get to Detroit in just a moment. But what I saw in this matchup, I didn't get what I thought I was going to see. Right, I thought we was going to have a problem with Justin Jefferson, but the reason they didn't have a problem with Justin Jefferson is because they had a problem up at the front of the line and at the quarterback position. So I think this is the first time all year that we saw a little bit of old Sam Darnold that we've seen, in the past. And you could just tell from it early, it was just like, I think mentally it was getting into his head. I think, maybe he was, jumping the gun or maybe holding on to the ball too long. And when you second guess yourself and it's not an even flow and just natural, any quarterback is going to suffer from that. But I think that is what was the biggest difference in this game is that Sam Darnold actually kind of reverted back to the old Sam Darnold that we saw. Also, I'm not going to just put it all on Sam Darnold. Kevin O'Connell, hey, they decided to go for it 3 times on 4th down, and Detroit did an excellent job in getting the turnover in those matchups. So I think that played a part as well as far as like, you know what, we're not converting these. Justin Jefferson was not balling as we expected him to ball. He only had 54 yards on 3 receptions. So Detroit did an excellent job, on that end. So speaking of Detroit, they started off a little bit slow. But they got the ball rolling with Jahmyr Gibbs. Obviously, a total of 4 touchdowns, which this is crazy. This brother got 20 total touchdowns to go on the season. Jared Goff was able to get the ball and move the ball down the field. He didn't throw any touchdown passes. They didn't need him because Jahmyr was balling. But I want to give props, to the Detroit Lions as far as like the game plan that they had, on it. They took some risks. They took some calculated risks. And you've heard me talk about this before with Dan Campbell and some of the things that they do. But Aaron Glenn, they took calculated risks as far as they were going to try to rush and push up that clock on Sam Darnold and make him think about it. And it worked to perfection, for them to where you saw this game is 31-9. Now, at the end of the day, it's still one game. Granted, yes, you do want to have that first round bye. Nobody wants to go on the road, and it still sucks. Even though I'm happy that the Lions won, still sucks that somebody got to go on the road with 14 wins and play a road game. But Minnesota still could be all right. But the only thing that I'm going to say going into the playoffs is that if you look at Minnesota and the games that they have played previously, take out the Atlanta game. But if you look at games that they played against Arizona, if you look at games that they played against Green Bay as of late, those have all been close games. Those have been games that those teams were still in it at the end of the game. I'm curious to see, can the Minnesota Vikings, because they're going to LA and Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Kyron Williams, Matthew Stafford, if that defense is on and they are clicking on the offensive side, that could spell trouble for Minnesota, because I don't know if they're going to be able to go toe to toe, score to score with the LA Rams. So it's one game, but it's kind of was a big game, as well. I think, both teams needed it. Detroit needed the rest, but also Minnesota needed the rest. But I think it was better if Minnesota could have got that game at home to play. But I'm just glad it worked out the way that it did. My Lions are sitting at home, getting some rest, trying to get some people back to go into whoever they're going to see, in the next round. So congratulations to the Lions. But congratulations on a bunch of the teams, Minnesota and all the other teams that made, the playoffs as well, because we're going to be talking about them in just a moment. But I digress off of that. We've talked a lot about football, but we're going to get into some basketball a little bit, and the NBA. Not going to talk about a specific game. I want to talk about ratings, right? The ratings that people have been talking about when it comes to the NBA. So you see it there, 18% down from last year, and people have been really talking about this and worried about, what's going on with the NBA. So I don't want to do this by myself. Mo, you can drop in the screen here. I'm going to tell you why I think, the ratings are down. And you can tell me if you agree or if you got your own things. And I think it's a multitude of things. So hear me out when I say this, right? As far as like the style of basketball that's being played, I think with that combination, you have three. Everybody know about the three ball. And you've heard me say this before. I really don't think it's more of, hey, they're just taking way too many threes. I think it's really who's taking the threes. I think there are some players that may not need to take as many threes as they're taking, or they're taking, bad shots. And it's just, we're going to go to analytics. Analytics says you put up more threes than XYZ. Okay, that's fine, but you're still there to entertain. So if it's not entertaining to your customer, then you're going to have a problem with it. And then I think the other thing is, on it, and I'll let you talk, Mo, because I got some other things that I want to mention, but I just do think that the people that was diehard NBA fans are like me, like you, and our age bracket, and you have this generation that's coming up that has their attention, that other things have their attention as far as like what they want to do or what they can do or what's accessible, to them. So I don't think they care about the brand of basketball like we did. And it was a different brand. It was a little bit more physical and everything. So you didn't have all this, and I hate this, all this flopping that went on, and just people flailing and all of this, like and that is a turnoff to people. not to mention, people sitting out. We've already talked about that, so we don't need to talk about that. But Mo, that's where I'm going with it. I don't think it's just people
Yeah.
just hate the guys. I just think it's a multitude of things that's playing a part of why this thing has started to decrease.
Yeah, for me, it's hard to watch the game now because, and I got a few problems with it. I got a few things that I think are reasons for the low ratings. So I'm watching basketball the other night. I can't even remember who I watched, but you taking 3-4 steps, go up with the ball, come back down. Then I mean, it's. I'm
Mhm.
like, come on. I mean, that right there is something that fundamental basketball is. It seems like it's no longer a part of the game. And you had the whole wave with the point guards and the shooting guard. You got these combo guards now, right? But
Mhm.
then that kind of spilled over into the forwards and the centers. No
Yeah.
true big men exist. At least
No.
true big men that play that big man position. You don't have
That's
that
the
no
huge
more.
thing.
You
Right.
just don't have it no more. And I also think for me, it's like when you look at the contract situations, when we were coming up, you identify players with teams, right? Isaiah Thomas, Detroit Pistons, Tim Duncan, San Antonio Spurs, so forth and so on. I don't know who's gonna be playing where next year. It's like so many 1 year contracts. It's like but
Mhm.
then the situation with what's my boy from the Sixers, Joel Embiid, right?
Mhm.
Beginning of the season, he coming out talking about I'm not playing back to back games. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing. It's like the
Right.
players are spoiled. No more fundamental basketball. Bad contracts where players just bouncing around the league. You may play for 30 teams before you retire, and I understand that's something that happened in football as well, but nowhere to the degree of what you see in the NBA. And
Yeah.
football is America's sport, so don't try to compete with that. You got football here, and then you got let me get in the camera. You got football, and then you got everything else,
Right.
and
Yeah.
so you can't do what they do.
And you're on to something too with that, Mo, because you were talking about guys, kind of being in one place or whatever. But I think also because of that movement, what you've missed from that is the rivalries because
Right.
we knew New York and Miami, the Knicks and the Heat. That was a rivalry. But because
Hmm.
guys move around so much now, you really can't have those rivalries like you used to. You'll still have the old blueprint of Lakers versus Celtics, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Once when LeBron moved on from Cleveland, you couldn't use the Warriors in Cleveland, situation, and other guys have moved on. So yeah, that movement I think probably has hurt viewership. But the one other thing, and we'll get off of it here, but one other thing I think I truly believe is that I think the NBA need to figure out a way for their current fans, their younger fans, I should say, and
Hmm.
and and the ones that's in our age bracket, but their younger fans being able to fall in love with said player. And what I'm getting at is that back in the day, and I'm not trying to sound like an old fogey, but it was guys went to school for 2, 3 years, sometimes 4. So
Hmm.
you got that chance to build that rapport, identify, know who that person is, fall in love with them, follow them, know who they are. And then when they go to the NBA, especially if they went to, your team, then you're definitely, somebody that you would keep up with. And I just think because they've expanded so much and players are coming from everywhere, literally everywhere in the world, I don't know if there's a funnel to where people can kind of keep up with these guys because you don't have that much that Luca, they were talking about Luca when he was 16. So by the time
Right.
he got 19, he was on his way to the pros. If there was something that was there, I think Wemby is 19 when he came to the league. So if there's something
Hmm.
maybe the NBA has, something that they focus on or identify or target for, hey, you know what? This is the next upcoming generation. Hey, he's 14, but we're going to funnel this to you so you know who this
Right.
person is. So you hear about this
Right.
person. So when they
Great
finally do
point.
get to the NBA, it's not something that's just like, okay, who is this person? Because the
Exactly.
diehard NBA fan is going to probably know who that person is. But the fan that you're trying to keep, and I think the fan that you do want, to tune into these games, they're gonna be like, I don't know who that is, so I don't have any
Right.
vested interest. So
Yeah. I mean, like we follow sports, so a lot of these kids didn't even know who Anthony Edwards was till he got to the league and started playing. The only thing holding one of the only things that's holding this younger generation to the game is probably 2K. You know, my son sit there and play all the time. He played 2K more than he watched the NBA. That's how that's how he know these players and identify them. But
And maybe that's
I think
maybe that's the angle.
yeah, I
Put
mean
them
at
mugs in
least
2K.
I mean not EA Sports, 2K Sports got to figure it out, but
Yeah.
it's got to change because at some point the lack of viewership is going to start impacting these contracts if it get bad enough. You know, just an opinion. Maybe I don't understand how all the business work, but I got to imagine that there's money involved in that. When them ratings start going down, but then again, you know,
Yeah.
baseball,
Well,
they still
they just
kicking out billion-dollar contracts.
yeah, they just signed a 75, $76 billion TV deal. So that's for the next 11 years. So I guess you
Nah,
can
it's
say
gonna
you
be
got 11
worse.
years. You got 11 years to figure it
Years to
out.
figure it out. Yeah.
You got 11 years.
By the
So
time John Morant retire, y'all come up with
right.
something. So
Yeah.
we'll
But
see.
what we don't have time for to figure out is who's going to win in this college football, right? So we got the semifinals that's coming up, and the first one that we got, what we got, Mo? I think it's Texas and OSU, if I remember correctly. Yeah, so Texas versus Ohio State University in the college football playoffs. This is a semifinal. Obviously, going to the championship is on the line when it comes to these two. So with Texas and Ohio State, let's be honest, right now, Ohio State is going to be the favorite, especially after the last two games that they've played. They mangled everybody. Took down Oregon. Took down who was that? I think it was Tennessee. That they played. I might be getting that wrong, but regardless, they laid them the rest. I won't say it's going to be an easy win for Ohio State. I will pick Ohio State in this solely for there has been some inconsistency when it comes to Texas, right? And we've seen some of that just this past week when they play Arizona State. Now, I don't think anyone's going to argue and say that Arizona State is the better team when it comes to Ohio State. And we saw how Texas, had some issues with Arizona State, which they did. Don't get me wrong. I'm giving them credit, because Arizona State showed up and balled out. Ohio State is a different, animal. They're on a mission, and I'm gonna say it here. That game against Michigan did something to them. I think it did more. I mean, they wanted to win, but I just think with that, just catapulted them into, you know what? I'm gonna go B Rabbit style on 8 Mile. I don't care who it is. I'm about to murder, everybody, right? And that's what Ohio State is on right now. And I don't know if Texas can put together 60 minutes of a game from beginning to end on it. This kid, Smith, freshman, he's on a whole nother level. And I know I've been, seeing like I'm singing the praises of Ohio State, but it's just I don't know if I would say where Ohio State could lose this game is will Howard take a tremendous step back in that front four for Texas. They start getting to they get to the quarterback, and we see some Sam Darnold type of stuff where the clock starts speeding up and start making mistakes. Now, if that happens, yes, we got ourselves a ball game, but I don't know if that's going to happen or not. But I got Ohio State winning that one. Our next matchup that would determine who's going to play in the championship is going to be Notre Dame versus Penn State, right? And so I have battled with this ever since this matchup. I think I've battled with this literally up until probably the past hour, going back and forth, just trying to see who would I go with, who would I pick on this, and it's just Jelani, just go ahead, be a man, pick somebody, stop being scared, right? So I'm gonna give the people, the people gonna get what they want. The people out there in the corporate world is finally gonna get what they want. They're gonna get Notre Dame into the championship game. I think Notre Dame is going to squeak this one out. They're going to eke this one out. I think this would probably be the tightest ball game between the two with Penn State. And part of that, with Penn State, we've seen it before. We've seen it before. Big time games. Penn State has not always come up, clutch. I just need to see it. I got to see it. And don't get me wrong, Notre Dame has had their problems, as well, but they have been able to overcome, especially that bad loss that they took, at the early part of the season, and they bounced back from that, and they've been playing really good football, and they've been playing, I won't say completely mistake free, but they are taking advantage of their situations that they have, and that's solely what I'm going to base it off of. I'm not going to, try to make it complex or anything else. But I think, Notre Dame will probably eke this one out. And then we'll have a Notre Dame versus Ohio State finals. People will be ecstatic. They will be making boatloads of money. I mean, even the Texas, win as well. They're going to be making a whole bunch of money. Whoever goes, they're going to be making money because all these schools bringing that money. But it's a little bit different, when Notre Dame shows up as well. So those are my picks. I'm going to say Ohio State, Notre Dame. When it comes to these two, we got some stuff that I want to wrap up with, and I really, 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 really want to. I really want to get Mo's opinion because I know he's gonna say something crazy or something silly, on it. So this right here, Mo, I'm looking at it. Tyreek Hill, bro. Tyreek. So let me ask you this. Let me ask you because some of this stuff we don't talk about, before the show. So do you know what I'm referencing when I say Tyreek Hill? Let
I'm
me ask you
assuming you're
that.
talking about him wanting to get out of there.
Yes.
Yeah,
So,
and they danced around it, but when they try to report on it, but nah, brother
yeah.
was very clear about his intentions. Go ahead.
Yeah. So here's what I'm gonna say about it. I this is the good and bad of catching someone right after they've played a game. Because I truly do believe that emotions were high. I truly believe that Tyreek, I'm not gonna say he wasn't thinking clearly or anything like that, but I just think had that game maybe played out in a different, manner, it's gonna be different. Now, having said all that, because I think, give him a couple weeks. I think even I think Rex Ryan said that on Get Up. Give him a couple weeks just to, to cool off. But having said that, at the end of the day, here's the big part about it is that if you took yourself out of the game in the fourth quarter and you didn't want to go back in and you're saying you're just done, then the same thing that was brought up about Devondre Campbell and the same thing that was brought up about Antonio Brown, you're going to be subjected to, right? He may not care. He may not care at all. But if you're talking about going somewhere else, that's going to impact you, bro, because they're going to look at it. You quit on your team. So you're not going to come to this team and you're not taking a discount. You're going to want to get paid. And I'm supposed to trust that you don't do that again. Now, let's go to the last part, the interview, right? Bad timing as well. Bad timing. I mean, like you're on there's people you work with on the other side of that door. You're talking about I'm out, bro. I'm out, and I got to look out for my career. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna say this. You've been in the playoffs every single year. This is the first year that you haven't been in the playoffs. Poo poo kachoo. There's people that haven't even made it to the playoffs that go to Pro Bowls or All Pros, and all of that. And that's just something that no one's ever going to listen to that, especially after where you left. This is not like you left from some horrible situation. You left from Kansas City and that situation for reasons we know it was about money and, some other things. And this is the choice that you went with. So I don't get, the whole thing about like I gotta take care, I gotta make sure I do what's best for my career because now you're sounding me. And that's not gonna work in football. So that's why give him a couple weeks. He'll calm down. I don't know how much it will be, but this was not a good look for Tyreek at this particular point.
Jelani.
I know it's coming.
First of
Here we go.
all, Don't compare him to Campbell. Don't compare that situation to Antonio Brown. Now,
Okay.
Campbell not the same caliber player as Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown, elite, one of the greatest to do it, but Antonio Brown had way more baggage leading up to that point than Tyreek Hill did. All right?
True.
So with Tyreek Hill, yeah, catch him at a different time, not necessarily right after the game. You probably would have gotten more of a professional, politically correct answer, whatever. But listen, he just expressing how he felt. No, I have never missed the playoffs, right? I don't like this situation. Something happened throughout the course of the year between the time that he signed with Miami up until last night, right? Something had to
Right.
happen. Something frustrated him. He won out.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't think he's gonna have a problem moving on to another team because of the comments he made. He might not be able to, just hand pick where he decides to go. I don't think it's gonna be as easy as it could have been, but it's Tyreek Hill, man. Tyreek Hill still has a lot left in the tank. Tyreek Hill is I'm not gonna grade him how you want to grade him as far as skill level go at this point in his career. Tyreek Hill is still Tyreek, man. He's not gonna have no problems. I tell you what, he called if he reach out to San Francisco, they picking him up. Any of these teams out here that need a receiver, Dallas or whoever it is, he'll be fine. He'll be fine.
Ooh.
He'll
So
be fine. I don't think he'll have too much of a problem moving on.
it sounds like we disagree on this.
Sound like it, yeah. Don't it?
Ooh.
Don't
Okay.
it?
So let me rebuttal the reply to that as well. Here's why I say that, because you say, Antonio Brown had more baggage. You're right. Yeah, I'm not gonna, dispute that. He's on a different level from Devondre Campbell. You're right. Now, what I will say though is that ledge that he's on, that thing can dip like that. We've seen that plenty of times in the NFL with guys that were up here, and in a matter of months or a year, everything just spirals down. And I use Antonio Brown as an example. Antonio Brown balling in Pittsburgh. He wanted to be out of Pittsburgh, got himself out of Pittsburgh, got to the Raiders, still was crazy stuff going on, got himself out of there, got to Patriots. To your point, Patriots at that point, they were kind of in that San Francisco, era, but I mean they got more success at that current part. But then even the Patriots said, "Nah, we ain't doing that." And it took Tom Brady signing off in Tampa to get Antonio Brown like that. So I'm just saying, Mo, is that like there's stories after stories where guys, they're just like, well, I'm this, I'm that, and then they get humbled or the league stop, because the league's, we already know the league's going to keep going. They're going to have some other wide receivers. They're going to have some other, other players, quarterbacks, and all that stuff, and they will move on from you. They will move on from you. And sometimes they leave sooner than later. So I'm just saying that's not something that you just want to play around with, because it's going to be like you just said. There's going to be Tyreek he ain't gonna want to go to just any old team. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if he went back to Kansas City or whatever. But you think Kansas City gonna pay him what he want? Yeah, you can
That's
come
what I was
back
gonna
here.
say. That's what I was gonna say. It's going to impact negotiations. It's going to impact minor things, but let's not act like that antic yesterday just cost him his NFL career, right? Next year,
I'm not saying it. I'm not
mark
saying it
words.
cost him. I'm not saying it cost him his career, but that could be one of the things that can impact how a team is going to view you or how a team is going to treat you. That can be the
I
starting
agree.
point if it continues, right? Now, that could be it. I don't know the future, and I'm not wishing that on Tyreek at all. I hope. I really hope he just stays in Miami and they figure it out, and they win, and and everything's good. But if
They're not gonna
he
figure it
has
out.
to, but if he has to move on, the last thing you want to do is basically just saying, man, I can't be around these guys though. Because he's not talking about everybody. I know he's not talking about everybody. Is he talking about Jalen Waddle or not? No, I'm pretty sure he's not talking about Jalen Waddle. And he's talking about somebody specifically. He just haven't, mentioned it.
And he
But
will.
it's like, bro, we don't need that, going on.
And he will. But just sitting here listening to you talk about it, think about it. Staying in Miami, which I mean, come on, you kind of burnt that bridge. I don't see that happening. But
Oh yeah. I think
it may not be from a player standpoint. That's probably one of the best situations. Looking at that division, I mean, right now your only hurdle is going to be Buffalo, right? And
yeah.
I don't see Buffalo slowing down no time soon. But if you're unhappy and you point out specifically the playoffs, where else are you really going to go? To achieve that success that you're looking for. Where else are you going to go?
Because you said San
mad about
Francisco,
that,
right?
I said San Francisco, but San Francisco probably got a number 1 and a number 2 right now, depending on how they feel about Brandon Ayuk, depending on how they feel about, Ricky Pearl. I mean, of course, he's not a number 2, but I would love to have him, but I don't think they're going to do it. I know they're going to probably move off of Debo, but
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Because you got to remember, you just said it. You got Ricky on a rookie deal. Jawan's not getting paid that much, and he ball out for y'all. And then you got Brandon, which he'll be coming back, but you don't know what you're getting with Brandon at that point. Kittle will be a year older. If you add Tyreek with that, maybe they do go ahead and make that investment into Brock Purdy and everything. So I mean, I could see San Francisco, working there. But you best believe that contract gonna be set up to where that stuff happen. They'll be able to get him up out of there.
The only thing I can see getting in the way of that is money got to be spent on the defense right now, and you got to find a kicker. But that's a whole nother show.
Yeah, that's another
that's
show.
A different podcast.
I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to open that up. So, but hopefully, everything works out for Tyreek, man. On it. All right,
he'll be in the playoffs next year.
Well, somewhere, but rapid fire time, right? So I got some things that I want to just shoot through really quick. Mo, if you want to chime in, you can say whatever it is. But coaches, right? We got some coaching news that transpired at least up until this point. While we're recording, is that Doug Peterson was let go. Not a surprise there. It's actually probably a surprise that he made it through the season. I thought he might get released during the season, so that's not a surprise. Gerard Mayo, that was a surprise. There is that Robert Kraft comes out and says, I put him in a bad position, and I'm like, but you hired him. Like, what do you mean you put him in a bad position? Give him an opportunity to work himself out of it if it's you, right? So I think I think they want Vrabel or somebody else. It feels like when the Cardinals drafted Josh Rosen 10th overall, and then they didn't have a great year, and Kyler Murray was available at the number 1 overall spot, and they said, you know what, we're gonna go with Kyler Murray. That's what that feels like. It's like, oh, we got a better opportunity to get someone else. Let's just figure out some things and Gerard, we're sorry, but we'll try and make it up to you. So Brian Daboll is staying. Some people are surprised. Giant fans are upset. I didn't think they were going to get rid of Daboll. I think they really put it more on, Daniel Jones and some of the players that Daboll was working with. But going into this next year, there is no excuses. If the Giants have a bad year, Daboll will be out. So he's on a 1-year prove it deal. Mike Evans, right? I wanted to talk about this really quick because I thought I was going to be on here saying shame on you, giving out big L's and going crazy. But I want to give props to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, man. They did Mike right. So for those who don't know, Mike was 5 catches and 85 yards away from a $3 million incentive bonus that he would get. Also, he needed that, what was it? I think he needed like a little bit over 90 yards to get to 1,000 yards as well. So he would have his 11th consecutive year of 1,000 yards receiving. Only other person that got that is Jerry Rice. So Tampa had the game in hand. They could have just downed the ball, but they wanted to get him the stats, and they also wanted to get him paid. So they ran one last play, and they got him, the money and got the stats. So props to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for doing that, because it's so many other times that franchises will purposely sit a player so they can't get their money, or they'll go out there and say, "Oh, I didn't know that they were, yes, you did, because you put it in the contract, right? You knew it. You got someone that you pay to sit and watch these things and keep you notified. So if you can keep from spending that extra money, then do it. And for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to do that, props to them, man, and shouts out to them for doing that. Mike Evans is one of my favorite, just players in the league, man. The dude just come in and work day in and day out. To me, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. People, they just forget, when you look at the numbers and you see what he's done, and he's a Super Bowl champ and the Pro Bowls and everything, you're gonna be like, dang, I didn't know Mike was getting it in like that. Yeah, Mike is getting it in, like that. And you got to remember, he missed at least 2 or 3 games with an injury and still got 1,000 yards receiving. So props to Mike Evans for getting his money, getting the stat as well. Real good dude in the NFL. So got some wild card picks. Wild card is coming up. I'm just going to give you my picks. Mo, do you want in on this? Do you want to make a pick as I go through it?
Let's do it.
Ooh, look at you.
Let's go.
First one, Chargers versus Texans. Who you taking? I'll let you take the first pick. Chargers versus Texans.
I'm gonna go left field on you. I'm gonna go out with Harbaugh. I'm going with the Chargers.
I'm out there with you. I'm gonna go Harbaugh as well.
I thought you was gonna go Texans.
That line scares me, and I think it scares CJ as well. And he's out there running. I think Harbaugh will try and run the ball, but then if they have to throw the ball, I think Justin Herbert can go back and forth in a shootout if need be. So I'm with you. I'm gonna go Chargers on that. Pittsburgh versus Baltimore. Who you got on that one?
I want to see Russ do it, but I gotta go with Baltimore. I gotta go with the MVP.
I'm going with Baltimore as well, because if you can't do it now, then I don't know what to say about the Ravens, because they have been right there, and they have found ways to not finish the job. So I think, this year now, granted, Pittsburgh has given, Lamar problems, but I think if they need to, this is the part where we've been pushing and for ball to do this, and he's going to do it. I think they will give the ball to Derrick Henry 79 times if they need to. So they're gonna make sure Derrick Henry gets his. Denver versus Buffalo. Interesting matchup. I'm gonna go, I'll pick on this one first. May surprise you. I'm gonna go Denver, man.
Are you serious?
I think this, because I always need to pick my upset. I always need to pick, what had happened was, and all this stuff. And we've been seeing all these praises of Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills and all the stuff that they've been doing. But remember what I told you. I said when they beat the Lions, I said the one thing though, Josh Allen had to be Superman, right? You can't do that in the playoffs where you're a one-man wrecking machine or anything like that. Denver has a really solid defense, and they have an excellent coach. I would not be surprised. I'm not saying that it's just a foregone conclusion, but if I got to pick someone to upset someone in all these matchups, that's the one I'm going with. I'm going to say Denver upsets, shocks the world, and beats Buffalo.
Yeah, upset should have been Pittsburgh. I think it's a blowout, Buffalo.
Woo.
Blowout,
Could be.
blowout.
Okay. Next one, I'll pick on this one. Green Bay versus Philly. I'm gonna be easy on that one. Philly. I just think Green Bay is not there just yet, and they just lost Christian Watson to an ACL, so he's not even gonna, play. Jordan Love is a little bit banged up, as well, and they got Saquon. They got, they got that defense, and they played at the beginning of the year, and Green Bay gave them, a hand, but a team at the beginning of the year, both of those teams are a lot different at the end of the year, and I just think Philadelphia has gotten even better than what they were at the start of the year. So I'm going to give it to Philadelphia on that one.
Yeah, I got Philly too. I think it's going to be another blowout, and I think Philly is going to really scare the rest of the league with this game. I think they're going to look so impressive that people are going to start changing their picks.
This one, Ooh. So you got 2 blowouts. Okay.
Mhm.
This one is tough. Washington and Tampa. Washington and Tampa. I the only I'm gonna say Tampa. I'm just going to factor in Jaden is a rookie and he go through his, little, rookie mistakes, in it. But watch, Jaden will probably throw 7 touchdowns,
Yep.
because this dude is he is different. He is different. But Tampa is gonna get that game at home. So I think that's gonna, help them. Where Washington got to go on the road for that. So I'm gonna go Tampa. Who you going with?
After what I saw from Tampa yesterday, early on in that game,
Crazy,
I
right?
gotta go with Washington. I gotta go with Washington.
Crazy.
I'm going with my daddy's Washington Commanders.
Okay.
And it's gonna be a tight one. I think it'll be a tight game, but you're right. Jaden Daniels, he gonna cut up. Them 7
Yeah.
touchdowns, I ain't worried. He not listen, he hadn't been that deer in headlights rookie all year long. Why start
No,
now?
hasn't.
He
Not at all.
comfortable. I
Right.
think he up for this game. I got Washington.
Okay.
Got Washington by 10
Uh, la-
points.
last one, Rams, Minnesota. Right. So Minnesota coming off obviously this loss. They got to go on the road out to LA and a dangerous team. And I hate to admit it, but I got to say it. I told you at the beginning of the year who was going to win that division, and you said I was crazy.
I did. I was wrong.
Um, and it's just I just think this team is scary as well because you really don't know which one you're going to get. Because if you get the team that they can be anybody. That's the scary part, but that's not a consistency with them. Um, that's a
This one
tough
got you.
one. Yeah, this is a tough one because I just my fear is that Detroit helped put a little something out there for other teams to use, and
Yep.
they will copy it in a heartbeat. Do that. Now, do I think Justin Jefferson gonna go for 54 yards again if you playing single cut? Well, kind of a single coverage, kind of a man coverage. No, um, I'm you pick. Come back to me, and I have an answer.
This the hardest game, but I'm gonna go with the Rams. I'm gonna go with the Rams. I mean, it's a Super Bowl team. It's a Super Bowl team. Recent history, they've been that team. But then look at the quarterbacks in a game where it's this close of a matchup, this hard to decide. I got to go with who I consider to be the better quarterback. I'm going with the Rams.
I'm gonna go with the Rams too.
Really?
I've been talking about how people don't want to play them. Um,
They on fire at the right time.
and I think this would I don't know if that would line them up. No, it wouldn't. I was thinking maybe that would line them up to see Detroit, but obviously the NFL will want that. But yeah, I'm gonna say I'm gonna say in a tight one, the Rams.
Yeah. It's a couple
So
games that can go either way. Washington,
yeah,
Tampa, LA, Minnesota. Them games can go either way. And to be honest with you, I kind of want to say that I kind of almost feel the same way about Pittsburgh and Baltimore, but I got to go with the
hmm
MVP. I got to go with the MVP, and Pittsburgh is
oh
defeated.
that's gonna be a 8-5 game. Them ones will never put up no points
Yeah,
in Pittsburgh and
they're going to beat
Baltimore.
each other
So
up.
yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. So and they may not even have Zay Flowers, so that's gonna, I think may slow that thing down a little bit
Hmm.
as well because
Yeah. I ain't think
dealing
about
with a
that.
knee injury.
I ain't think
So,
about that.
but, but
We'll
all
see.
right. All right, we'll see. Wild
We
cards,
got
right? So we'll talk about all the wild cards. Appreciate you, Mo. We'll talk about all the wild cards. We'll talk about college football and who's going to be in the championship next week. So again, appreciate you for dropping in. Like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. Follow your boy, right? New year, new set, new me, new Mo, new us. We starting off 2025 right. So Merry New Year and two things as always. stay positive, and push forward. And I'll holler at y'all later. Peace.